Good evening, Tommy.
Good
Tommy
evening,
Smith,
my man.
1515, Tim Tebow,
What's
fan
up?
over there.
Rocking the Hulk's Rules shirt. It's Hulk's Rules tonight.
Nice. Straight out of Long Island, representing Brooklyn.
Brooklyn Brawler.
I wouldn't mind being from Brooklyn, but I'm not. I'm from the smack dab middle of Long Island. But we got a show to do, man.
Yeah,
This is
big pay-per-view.
episode 49.
It's crazy,
We're
man.
almost at 50. We're getting there. So, you know what? Let's not waste any more time. Let's get the show started. Why don't we?
Agility from the champion. Oh, deep six! That could be it. Delivers this deep six.
Good evening, Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast fans. My name is Wayne, and I am joined by my co-host, Tommy Smith, 1515. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. You know, we're getting kind of weirdly close to the holidays. You know, less than a week away from today. It's weird, man. The year's gone by. It's been a weird year. It's been a interesting one to say the least, but we're finally coming to the end. You know, everybody's gonna get to celebrate the holidays, and we're gonna end it off with hopefully a good pay-per-view on Sunday.
Yeah, I can't even begin to tell you how quick this year is gone. 2020 is gone like that, but after the year we've just had,
Yeah,
we all got
we're all
through
ready.
it. We all got through it. We were ready for a new year. I'm expecting a mid-year. Our Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast is doing awesome. Over close to 550 follows on Twitter. We have over 100 in our WWE and AEW fans groups. So for those of you guys that are watching, search that out. But yeah, we're rolling. Our podcast is doing great. And for those of you guys that are watching, please, our one area of opportunities, make sure you share this with your friends, because those of you guys that are watching, I know you know people who are wrestling fans. Make sure you get this YouTube link out to them. Let them know that we're here each and every single week, one way, shape, or form. We got a watch along coming up, a year in review coming up a week after that, after the new year. So we got some good stuff coming.
Yeah, share it with your friends, share it with your friends' friends, share it with your friends' parents. It doesn't matter. Get us out here. We love doing this. We're looking forward to the next year in wrestling. You know, we got a really exciting pay-per-view coming up next month in the Royal Rumble. I think it's the consensus everybody's favorite time of the year for the wrestling world. So yeah, we're gonna be hitting it hard, just like AEW and WWE are in the next year.
Hopefully, WWE gradually gets better from this point on, which we'll talk
Looks like
about
they're being
later.
forced to, yeah.
Yep. And AEW is embarking on something really interesting with all this crossover with wrestling, with Kenny Omega going over at Impact and what have you. We'll talk about all that, but let's get started. AEW and NXT talk this week. I'm actually pulling up Brian Alvarez's Twitter. I just had it and now I lost it. But NXT, AEW rather, had in the middle. Oh, there we go. 806,000 viewers, as opposed to NXT's 766,000 viewers. Viewership was low if you combine the amount of viewers this week. NXT seemed to have closed the gap a little bit with about 100,000 more viewers than last week's show. AEW about 150,000 viewers compared to Winter's Coming and the week before that. Less.
Yeah.
But AEW had a good show. Nothing crazy happening.
Yeah.
Was rather uneventful, don't you think?
Yeah, I sort of expect it to kind of be I can't say a lackluster show, because I still think there was some enjoyable stuff that happened, but with the last 2 weeks that AEW has had, it's tough to keep that streak going. I mean, you have the Sting debut 1 week, then you have the follow-up from Omega appearing on Impact the next week. It's tough to keep that train moving. We're finally getting into where they're going to start having more competition with the NBA season starting up next Wednesday. I mean, they're even getting pushed back to 10 o'clock or later, next weekend. And they have a pretty stacked show if I'm to be, if I'm right on that. I know that they have 4 or 5 matches announced for a pretty late show. So, yeah, I thought NXT and AEW both had some pretty good shows, but nothing too spectacular. I honestly think NXT was the better show.
Oh, I agree.
Overall this week, and maybe that was helped by the fact that there was a fantastic title match, opportunity. But yeah, this was a slow week in wrestling, but I think that was something that you could expect with how much groundbreaking stuff has happened over the past, month.
Yeah, I mean, I could see another slow week for sure during the holidays. It's always the worst weeks of wrestling, usually the last week or two. But then it looks like both AEW and NXT specifically are going to start picking up some steam on their beginning shows of 2021. They're both looking to come in hot. We'll talk about that. But, yeah, pretty decent show with AEW Dynamite. We'll buzz through it really quick. We had Hangman Page and Dark Order. Dark Order's John Silver and Alex Reynolds versus Matt Hardy and Private Party.
Yeah.
What do you think of that match?
This was a really solid opener. I think this is probably at least the 5th or 6th week in a row that I've talked about I'm going to talk about how much I love John Silver. But he's so charismatic. I mean, jumping on the back of Hangman's shoulders and riding him like a cowboy. I mean, that's such a comedic moment. He's good in the ring. I like this team. I like the future combinations that we'll probably see with Hangman joining the Dark Order. I think that's almost inevitable at this point. That group does need another big name to go along with Brody Lee, and especially now in Brody Lee's absence. And even in the end, that could be a good, kind of what they're doing with the Inner Circle. That could be a good little feud to build off of. Have the group decide who do they really want to be the leader of the entire Dark Order. But yeah, I enjoyed this match. Again, I implore anybody who has the time, check out Being the Elite on YouTube. It is a hilarious show. John Silver and Alex Reynolds kind of set up this cowboy match with the hats and everything on this week's episode. So yeah, I highly recommend it. But this was a good show. I was surprised by the victory by the Hardy Party, though. I honestly expected Dark Order to get a win here.
I thought that was I thought that was actually happening with Hangman and Dark Order. Did not expect that, so I was a little surprised there. Matt Hardy and Private Party get the win. Hangman was knocked out, and Silver as well. Hardy got the deciding fall there, so that was a little bit of a surprise to me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Great match to start off the show. AEW always does great jobs of opening up their shows with the tag title. The tag matches are great every single week. That's usually what they start with.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty good opening. Can't complain. Nothing big happened here. Maybe some seeds were planted for the future shows that are upcoming. But speaking of seeds, we see some seeds being planted for the furthering of the MJF Inner Circle storyline. MJF cutting off Jericho and taking credit for his New York Times Award winner for the Dinner Debonair.
Yeah, Dinner Debonair.
Created by Dinner Debonair. That was created by Chris Jericho. Afterwards, he finally gave credit to Jericho. MJF? I don't know if you noticed, the MJF cut off Jericho as Jericho was about to speak, and so I don't know. I see a little power struggle continuing, and we've mentioned the past couple of weeks. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we even saw that. At the end of the match, Hager hit the I don't even know what the finishing move was, and MJF kind of called him and told him, "Let me get the pin." He tagged him in, and MJF picked up the victory. So, it's those little things that you're starting to notice that is starting to show just dissension between the Inner Circle. And I think sooner rather than later, we're going to see this group go in a different direction, whether that's a new leader or completely disband. I think this group has a lot of talent. I love Sammy Guevara. I love MJF, and I think Wardlow can be great too. And it'll be interesting to see what they do here.
Yeah, well, Speaking of which, the 12-man tag featured Inner Circle versus Best Friends, and Top Flight and Varsity Blondes. So it's all of Inner Circle versus Best Friends, Top Flight, and Varsity Blondes. We see MJF get the win, pinning Garrison. I noticed Jack Hager put in on his finishing move the modified F5, if you want to
That's what
call
it
it
is.
that.
Yeah, the F10 is what they
F10?
called it. Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. I wasn't too sure. The F10, and then MJF finally reaching out his hand to get the
Yeah,
tag,
it's that tag.
and JK gives him the tag, and then MJF comes right in like a weasel he is and gets the pin for the win of that match. So yeah, I'm seeing little power struggles, little hints of leading towards a power struggle here.
Yeah, other than that, I thought this was a pretty decent match. My biggest gripe with matches that are more than 6 people is it just seems really cluttered. And it's the fact that
and it was originally announced.
It was a 14-man.
Seven, yeah.
Yeah, I think Wardlow had some family matters, and so they cut him out, and then they cut Brandon Cutler off of the Faces team. So they made a 6v6. But even with the 12 men involved, I thought it wasn't too poorly handled. I think everybody got a chance to shine. I think, especially the young guys. I mean, we've seen Best Friends. We've seen them challenge for the AEW tag titles. Now you're getting Top Flight, who's a young team that is extremely young. Very young. I mean, they're my age. I'm pretty sure they're younger, actually.
Yeah, they're like 18, 19.
Yeah. And they do a pretty good job. And they got a big match next week against Jericho and MJF. They laid down a challenge. And then the Varsity Blondes, Brian Pillman Jr. looks almost, it is his dad, but he looks exactly like Brian Pillman in the ring. I mean, he literally looks like a carbon copy of his dad. I like what Griff Garrison's done. I've seen a little bit of their stuff together on Dark. But, yeah, I thought this was a pretty well-handled match for how many people were involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian Pillman Jr. absolutely looks just like his dad. It's unbelievable. The commentators are making reference to it as far as his movements in the ring. Good showing.
Yeah.
Pretty good showing that Brian Pillman had there as well. So yeah, Inner Circle gets the win there. That was obvious. It was another one of those matches, and AEW Dynamite had a bunch of them the other night where it's too obvious to who's going to win which match, and this was one of them for sure. So Cody Rhodes is expecting.
Yeah, good for him.
No wonder why he took almost 6 weeks off.
Yeah, he was too busy getting busy.
Yeah, he's keeping busy during that quarantine, and they had a little vignette, so to speak, announcing to the fans that they're going to be expecting a baby, and Farrell was in on there. He's his security and training.
Yeah.
So
that is kind of big though that 2 of their top stars are going to probably be on paternity leave here in both Moxley and Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, Moxley and Cody have been busy during the quarantine.
Yeah.
They've been busy. But that'll be exciting to see. And you can tell Cody Rhodes is very emotional in the ring. He's very excited and what have you. So it was good. And you can feel that emotion too as well. But yeah, Cody versus Angelico. And let me tell you, we talked about it last week. Angelico, an awesome showing.
Yeah.
Great showing last week. A really good showing this week once again. Cody wins with the Cody Cutter before we talk about the aftermath. But it's just kind of hard for me to really buy into and believe that they would have to repackage Angelico a little bit for me to believe that one day he could be a main eventer. They got to do something with that. I feel like his character's a little hokey there, the way they come out and their presentation. But Angelico's proven that he can hang and he can work in the ring.
Yeah, he is. He is good. And I think that's kind of the thing, when you debut a person as a tag team, or as a part of a tag team, instead of debuting them as a single star that joins a tag team, you run that trap to where they'll always be remembered for being a part of that tag team, instead of being remembered for the fact that, yes, they were a part of, a team or something, but they had the skills and they had the singles run before to where they can show that they can deserve a big push. A guy that I think of is Kofi. Kofi Kingston, he wasn't a part of any tag team before. He made that debut, from Jamaica and all that, had that awful accent. Had a little bit of some runs. I'm pretty sure he's a U.S. champion. Got in a few tag teams, got with the New Day, kind of did his time as a mainstay on the tag team division, and then got what he deserved in the fact that winning probably one of the best matches of the year at WrestleMania 35 against Daniel Bryan. So I definitely agree with you. I think that in Hellco, he looks good. He looks really good in the ring, and he hung well with a guy like Cody Rhodes, who we know can put on a extremely solid match. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing, but I definitely agree with you. At some point, TH2 is going to have to be broken up, or they're going to have to give them a really nice rub and let them be tag team champions or something before they can think about, giving these two talented guys, singles run.
I think that happen. I think that can happen. You just got to keep them on this momentum. You got to feature them well.
Yeah.
Make it believable. You got to feature them well, get them some wins, and then listen. A couple months down the road, after a good showing, a good record, if they're even going by that, get them in there for a tag time. I wouldn't mind that.
No, I wouldn't.
As far
either.
as the single star, they're gonna have to change him up just a little bit, I think, because he's doing one heck of a job in the ring in singles matches.
Yeah, and I think we might even see when they ever debut the new show, I think we could see them bring in another tag title or another secondary title, just for how good their tag division is and how even their secondary division is. You have a lot of guys who are mid card in Jungle Boy trio. Yeah, exactly.
Trio titles.
There's a bunch of guys on the roster that don't get used all the time that would definitely be a good part of a second show as their champions. So yeah, I look forward to the time. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the next few months, especially in the world of wrestling, but I'm sure we'll get an answer here soon.
Before we move on, we got a comment from Everything Pro Wrestling. What up, fellas? He says, thank you so much for supporting us and Everything Pro Wrestling. Check out their YouTube channel. Absolutely check them out. They do some good stuff over there. And thank you so much for hopping on and checking in with us, man. But yeah, to continue on, before we move on, Sting comes out to Cody's save, because then we see Brian Cage, Hobbs, we see Ricky Starks and Taz and Hook come out as if they were about to approach the ring, and then Sting comes out. His music goes off, and we see Sting come out with the bat, and and then we see Sting give a little bit of a nod to the Darby Allin, who's hanging out in the rafters, and a little wink to Cody. So I feel like they are definitely going this route for sure.
Oh, yeah.
To do Cody versus Sting eventually. Because I feel like Cody would be a good dancing partner for Sting, because I believe Cody would take care of him very well in the ring.
Exactly, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's been my biggest thing, is that I think AEW knows just as much as we do. You cannot put Sting in the ring with somebody who isn't one of the top 3 safest guys in the company. He has to be in the ring to where he's with a guy who can protect him and not put him in situations. Look, we know that the fact with what he got injured with on Seth Rollins was a tough bump, and Seth Rollins is a relatively safe worker in the ring, but, accidents happen, and that was something that happened, and, now we're here, 5 or 6 years later, and man, I still just get goosebumps. I know it was only 3 weeks ago, but every time Sting comes out, it's just a cool moment. He's said,
it was an organic Tony Schiavone moment, but now he's trying to force it.
It definitely does seem like they're like in his ear saying, "You got to stay Sting." But no, he hasn't done anything really. He hasn't gotten any altercations. He's had one promo where he really didn't say much. He just kind of hinted at stuff, and I think they're doing a perfect job at making fans want more. The heart wants what the heart can't get, and that's something that us wrestling fans want, is we want to see this storyline progress. And as of this moment, we don't know what Sting's intentions are, but we're kind of getting subtle hints each and every week, making us want to come back the next week and watch. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with Sting here.
Absolutely. Moving on, we had SCU versus Acclaimed. Acclaimed is
battle.
a new. Oh my goodness, Acclaimed. That was horrible, absolutely horrible, but it was intended to be that way. It was absolutely intended to be that
I guess.
way. But it was so bad. But Kazarian was actually, I think Kazarian showed him up.
Yeah, I like Frankie Kazarian. he's also funny on Being the Elite. He has a anger management problem where he cusses all the time. But yeah, this was a fine match. I mean, it was nothing special. I'm interested in the fact that the Acclaimed is getting a world title match next week. It just seems kind of random. Yeah, I get it. They're supposed to be these hot young stars.
Supposedly number 5.
Yeah, and that's fine. But where Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus? Where are all these other teams that are just getting passed up by these guys who debuted 3 weeks ago? They look good in the ring. I'm not gonna act like they they can't work. It just seems
and Taking Flight is
Top Flight. Top Flight. Yeah.
Top Flight. Top of Flight. They're kind of getting more time than Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus.
Yeah, they're taking on MJF and Jericho next week. They laid that challenge down. I don't know. That Top Flight is different from the fact that they're just young and they can work and they don't really have a gimmick besides the fact that they're brothers, which is fine. And then now you kind of have this rapping gimmick with the Acclaimed, and
I don't like it.
It just doesn't go well with me. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, they're gonna have it's kind of hard to not have a good match with the Young Bucks. So we'll see after next week. But I'm not really buying them as a team. But I'll give them a few more chances just because they are still so new to the scene on AEW.
Max Caster overuses the word "yo," like "yo, shut up, yo." Oh my god!
Yeah, I remember.
Was not a fan.
Didn't they come out like on the time that Angelico attacked? And TH2 attacked. Man, who was it? They attacked whoever they just fought. Who did Angelico just have a match with?
Cody.
Maybe it wasn't. They got in a backstage altercation, and the Acclaim were there, and they started doing their rapping, and I was just like, who is this? Like, this is just... Ugh. This is the one thing in the last few months that I just have not enjoyed on AEW has been the Acclaim the last few weeks, but yeah, I'll give him a chance.
Yeah. Max Caster hits Daniels with the boombox. Bowen gets the pin on Daniels for the win because Daniels was knocked out. So we'll see what that happens. I do not expect the Acclaim to taking the titles from Young Bucks. That's not happening.
Not at all.
Not happening. I feel like they're setting up FTR to get that rematch come February.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if FTR gets involved in this match
I think so.
Next week.
Give it a little time. Maybe give it till January.
Yeah.
You got time. Serena Deeb and Swole versus Ivelisse and Diamante. We'll quickly brush through this. Swole wins using the Clearwater Cloverleaf on Diamante. Nyla Rose comes out and attacks Deeb and Swole. Then we see Red Velvet with the save using the chair. Side note, Red Velvet just getting engaged this week. I saw it somewhere in social media, so good for her.
Yeah.
Main event, Kenny Omega versus Joey Janela.
Yeah.
This is another one of those matches that AEW put out the other night, and you obviously knew Kenny Omega was going to get the win. He is the hottest superstar in all of wrestling right now, period.
Yeah, definitely.
How quickly that changed.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and, I don't know. The ending, I thought it was an okay show, like I said that at the beginning, but the ending, the last 2 segments, just... I guess even the last 3, with the Acclaimed and SCU, just didn't hit for me. You want us to think that you have a good women's division, and we know that they do, and they're not given any time. What was that, like a 5-6 minute match? and that was the only like real women interaction on the show. I mean, how are we supposed to care about that? Like, that just doesn't really make any sense to me. And then this match, Janela has been wanting this match for a while. We knew that if he won, he would get a future title shot, and it was no DQ. So he had every reason to go out and be the so-called bad boy character that he is. He even had Sonny Kiss in his corner, and besides one table spot, I mean, he got his ass kicked. It's as quick as that. He really got his ass kicked for 10 minutes straight. So, the ending of the show wasn't the best, but I agree with you. Omega is the hottest character in wrestling right now. I mean, him and Don Callis are doing their own commentary, which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, the ending of Dynamite just didn't really sit well with me. I thought it kind of dragged the show down a little bit.
Not to mention the viewership that Kenny Omega has drawn on Impact.
Yeah. Well, I heard that last week they dropped like 40,000 viewers or something from his first appearance.
The Impact's viewership increase went up to, I think, altogether, if you combine all the social media platforms, about 700,000 views. Yeah, I mean, they're not on TV, so it's kind of hard to calculate ratings there.
Yeah.
But
I think it was their Twitch that I saw that then.
Twitch
like 2 weeks ago when he made his first debut was at like 55,000 at one point, and it was down to like 10,000 this past week.
Yeah.
So, but it'll still be good. I mean, they announced the Good Brothers and Omega versus who is it? Motor City Machine Guns and Rich Swann.
Yeah.
For the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. That'll be good. I'm excited for that,
I'll watch.
Yeah, first kind of cross-promotional of a major brand that we've seen, with, I guess, in the United States, in the fact of AEW and Impact. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens on that match.
Impact's pay-per-view that they just had, Final Resolution, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
It was watchable. It was a lot more watchable than Raw, I can tell you that much. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah, I think we both agree that Kenny Omega is the hottest superstar. He is much watched. I mean, for me to want to turn on to Impact and see what he's doing over there, he's must watch at this point. I haven't even looked. I haven't even touched Impact prior to Kenny Omega showing up there recently. But Impact's they put out. Speaking of which, Rich Swann, the main event, I forgot who he went up against. So Rich Swann is the Impact champion. Chris Bay. Chris Bay,
yeah.
Yes, they tore it up in the main event for the Impact Championship. Rich Swann retained, but what a good match. So Impact's got some good talent there. Excited to see what 2021 is going to look like for them. On to NXT. Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory defeat Leon Ruff and Kushida. Again, another one of these matches that you knew who was going to win. Leon Ruff looks pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Good in ring.
Him and Kushida both look pretty good here. I mean, Kushida, we know how good Kushida is, but Leon Ruff has definitely made a name for himself the past 1 or 2 months. I mean, he kind of was thrown into the North American title picture. He won the title, he lost it, and now he's kind of still hovering around it. But yeah, he looks good. I'm not the biggest fan of Austin Theory. I think when he was on Raw, gosh, it seems so long ago, but it was this past year. He was okay, but now he just kind of seems like another character. They gave him the Ghostface character, and now he's with the Gargano family. We'll see. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty solid opener for NXT.
How about Ciampa against the debuting Tyler Russ?
That was a good match. I mean,
yes, it was.
You're talking about
jabroni.
I know you're talking about like we know who's gonna win the match, but this was actually a really solid match. I think I went back and watched it and I was like, yeah, seriously, who the hell is this jabroni? Like, who is this dude? Like, he's just coming in, and Ciampa's one of the best mat wrestlers in the world. And, I mean, these two put on a really solid match. And if it weren't for what happened in the very next match, I mean, this probably would have been the best match of the night.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah, Rust had a great match, pushed Ciampa to the limit, and one of Timothy Thatcher's students. Ciampa gets the win, but man, what a match! Kyle O'Reilly versus Pete Dunne, in which I consider the match of the night. This match is for the number one contendership. The winner challenges Finn Balor for his NXT championship.
Yeah. Man.
And O'Reilly has a date with Destiny. They told you many times during this match that O'Reilly has a date with Destiny once he won. That's all you heard. O'Reilly has a date with Destiny. They said it about 4 times. They couldn't. So, yes, O'Reilly has a date with Destiny at New Year's Evil in 3 weeks. What did you think of this match?
I loved it, man. I really did. We talked about it. Man, it seems so long ago. Takeover 30. Was that the right takeover? Was it that they fought? I get the takeover where he fought, Finn Balor.
Okay, that was two takeovers ago.
Yeah, so I think it was 30.
It was 30 and 31, yeah.
Man, that was a stiff as hell match. That was so good. One of the matches of the year. And we get it again. I did not expect it. I thought Pete Dunne was going to get the win because, with his thing with McAfee, they need that group to kind of get some more traction. They have the tag team champions on their side, and giving them a chance at the NXT title would really kind of build up what McAfee's saying, that these are the 4 best guys in the business. But this was a hell of a match, stiff as hell. Man, I'm excited to see Finn Balor versus O'Reilly again. O'Reilly has had his shot. He was champion a few times in Ring of Honor, and we might finally see that here. And, man, I'm so excited. I thought it was going to be another run-of-the-mill NXT, like, weekly, New Year's Eve was just going to be a show where nothing really happened. But, no, this is going to be really good, and I'm really looking forward to it.
They're making New Year's Evil, and they have to. NXT has to come out swinging in the new year. They're promoting the heck out of this. They really want to win the ratings battle for sure. Otherwise, they wouldn't be promoting a show like this.
Yeah, and they're going up against they're in a tough spot because they're going up against a 2-week show. I know this week is the Holiday Bash, but I don't remember what it's called, but. There's 2 weeks of one show on AEW. They're doing like a 2-week special that coincides with just the New Year's Evil. So they're going to have to bring the big guns to get fan viewership for that 1 week. So, yeah, I expect that to be a hell of a show. And this match is probably going to be the headliner, and it will definitely be worth it. I will gladly watch this match in the main event.
This week... And as we said, next week is kind of going to be a down week. But starting December 30th, man, buckle up.
Yeah.
We're going to be in for an awesome start to the new year. Of course, you got Royal Rumble a couple weeks after that. This is going to be January, late December to January is going to be great.
Seems like we might be getting, as they call it, a hard reset. So, yeah, the wrestling world is getting more and more interesting as the weeks go by.
I'm going to make a bold prediction that O'Reilly will be your new champion come January 6th.
I was going to say that as well. I think, as much as I'd like to see Finn Balor get it, I think that Balor... Man, I honestly don't know now that I said that, because I still want to see what Finn Balor has to do against Cross. Because Cross still needs to get back in the title picture, and I don't want to see O'Reilly as a bridge champion. I don't want to see him beat Balor just to lose to Cross. So this is going to be tough, but man, unless if he loses because Undisputed Era cost him or something, I have to go with O'Reilly as well. Just the fan in me, because I loved him when he was in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, return matches are always a red flag to me, telling me that there could be a title change here.
Yeah.
You could absolutely pair O'Reilly against Karrion Kross in the future.
Yeah.
You know,
But
you can do Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross in the number one contender match down the line for Karrion Kross to get his revenge there, and then get his title match maybe like after WrestleMania sometime.
That's fair. Yeah. I like that idea better. I just feel like, yeah, that's my thing, is just the fact that if O'Reilly wins, I think it's almost guaranteed that he's going to lose to Cross. And I don't want him to be a bridge champion because he deserves his time with the belt. He deserves to be a holder of the belt for a few months just to show what he can do in the ring. Because the dude can absolutely work. He's got a hell of a look. He can talk on the mic, and I mean, he can just go. He's stiff as hell too. I mean, he's one of my favorites on the NXT roster. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this match. January 6th.
3 weeks away.
Yeah.
In the main event, Toni Storm defeats Rhea Ripley. Raquel Gonzalez with the assist by using Rhea Ripley as a battering ram, pushing her into the corner turnbuckle. Then we see Toni Storm take advantage and get the win. Pretty decent match there to close out the show. I would say overall, NXT had the better show this week.
Definitely.
Despite the ratings, can't go by the ratings, but NXT had the better show.
Definitely.
I would expect AEW to have a better showing next week because they're building towards their 2-week special.
I don't know. It's tough just because of the NBA starting. I know that they're starting after like 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
but they do have a pretty solid card. I don't know. Obviously, the ratings won't depict what happens, and you can't look at those for next week because of the NBA starting. But I almost feel like next week will be a filler show for AEW. I'll pull up the card here, but I don't remember anything that really stood out to me besides the MJF Jericho versus Top Flight.
So not to mention, AEW's got that pay-per-view, their show that'll start probably around 10 o'clock, maybe a little after that. NXT is not going to have any other wrestling to compete with this first 2 hours. So I'd expect the NXT ratings to go up there just on the simple fact that AEW is moving up in time slot or to 10:30.
Am I right to say that... isn't Holiday Bash like taped next week? I don't think it's live.
I think you are absolutely right to say that.
Okay. So I'm sure that
AEW's been known for having really good taped shows, though.
That's true. I'm sure they'll build to something, but I'm also sure that there'll be spoilers that will leak that some people will know. There honestly might already have been spoilers that have been leaked. So we'll see, but yeah, I think AEW will do their best for their 2-week special edition show. In NXT, like you said, will be able to put on a good show when they're running unopposed to just the NBA, regular season opener.
Yeah, and NXT's basically got 2 full weeks to build for the January 6th show, exactly. So there's no pressure there. But NXT, AEW, I would say, regardless what time slot, they're under a little bit more pressure to have the better show next week for sure, because in the week after is the start of their first of 2 weeks of the New Year specials that they're doing.
I know one of them is with Jericho's on commentary, and one of them's with Snoop Dogg on commentary.
That's going to be on week 2, January 6th.
Darn! Of course, it's the one on January 6th on New Year's Eve. That's going to be one to watch for sure.
WWE is very pissed off about Snoop Dogg.
That's true,
by the way.
But you just never know what he's going to say. I'm sure he's going to say some absolutely ridiculous crap. It's going to be funny as hell. So that's definitely going to have to be a record and watch later after New Year's Evil.
Oh, absolutely. So, one last topic before we wrap it up. We already hit up on the ratings already. We know Dynamite won the ratings war once again. But NXT had the better show. But the Raw ratings. I you know what I haven't watched Raw in 2 weeks.
Two.
I have it on my DVR. I haven't even bothered to look at last week's show yet. And I haven't looked at this week's show.
I can't honestly tell you the last time I've watched a full episode of Raw. Like, I've seen parts of each one, and I'll look up highlights or look up the results. But
It has been hot garbage.
for years, it's not like this is like something
This is
that's
getting
been
bad.
new.
This is a whole new level of garbage.
Yeah. This is, and I get it. I understand we're in a pandemic and interest is down, which is kind of BS now because wrestling is huge with the whole Omega thing, and it's not like WWE is hamstrung by a bad roster. It is bad booking, it is bad storytelling, and it is bad use of the talent that they have. If you look at, I have watched probably 3 or 4 interviews this week where they ask who's the most underused superstar on the roster. Every single interview in these 4, and in almost every interview that I've heard of the last 7 years, has said Cesaro, and he has done nothing because Vince doesn't like that he's Swiss. I mean, if that is not the biggest oversight. Look, I get it. Wrestling world would not be where it is right now if it weren't for Vince McMahon. But it's time to move on. Give the reins to somebody else. This is bad. Bad TV. I'm surprised they're even getting as many viewers as they're getting. I mean, I think...
You know what I was watching on Monday night?
What?
I was watching Friends on HBO Max, a show that was on TV 20 years ago. No, by the way, it started 27 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm more entertained by Friends reruns right now.
I think somebody, I don't remember who it was. I think it might have been Bischoff. Bischoff might have said it on his podcast. You're making people sit and watch, and you're making writers sit down and write a full Lord of the Rings style episode every single week. No one wants to watch that. I mean, and when it's the same stuff over, I almost cussed right there, but I stopped myself. But it's man, I remember, and I'm sure you do too, because you got to live through the Attitude Era. When I was a kid, I never missed Raw. Raw was the coolest thing of the week, and it's just I would rather do so many other things than sit down. Raw is almost like a torture. They should use it to torture, prisoners or something. It is bad, dude. It is so bad, and it's embarrassing. I mean, even USA is saying this is awful. We want a more get rid. Even USA is saying get rid of the PG stuff, and it's all of our fans are finally, let's see it. And WWE's oh, we'll make the change, and we all know because we've been down this road so many times that it'll change for 2 weeks, and then we'll go back to the same old, BS. And it sucks, dude, because I remember when Raw was the coolest thing ever when I was a kid, and it's just it's awful. It is so bad. It is laughably bad. How many storylines have gone, unfinished, or just even Raw Underground? What happened to Raw? It just vanished one day. They're just oh, bye. Retribution was built up as this huge thing. Bye.
Well, Retribution was good until they announced the names of their members. T-Bar? Really?
Slapjack.
Slapjack?
I mean, that sounds like something you order at Denny's, man. I want the Slapjack.
Reckoning? And oh, jeez.
Look, I'm 22 years old, man. I find potty humor, and stuff like that just as funny as the next guy, because I'm still a kid. But Vince is 74 years old, and we're getting, just last year we had a dude get dog food poured on his face. 2 people get dog food poured on their face.
Oh.
And I'm sure he was crapping his pants laughing backstage this. What happened to the people? F the boss, drinking beer, and, the Raw roulette where you didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, nobody cares. It just seems like nobody who's writing the show, and that's not fair, because I know that they do, and they're all stuck under the fact that McMahon is the only person who says what happens, but, like, it is awful how bad Raw is. Like, it is laughably bad how bad that show is each and every week. I can't remember last time there's been a good episode of Raw.
When we started this podcast about, let's just say, in the beginning, around 7 months ago, you would hear me every single week rave about Raw and how bad SmackDown was. It was horrible.
Yeah.
The example with the dog food. And somehow the script flipped rather quick. Paul Heyman was running Raw and doing a pretty good job for what he had. You can tell that within 2 weeks after that, Raw went on a steady decline as soon as Paul Heyman left Raw. But then he goes to SmackDown, and he is in charge of working this storyline with Roman, and that is the best storyline on SmackDown.
Yeah. The thing is this isn't just an easy fix. This isn't we can bring back a CM Punk or a John Cena for a ratings boost or something like that. Like, this is something that we have been... I honestly think that the last year that Raw was thoroughly good, gosh, probably that I didn't miss a single episode, it's probably 2011 when Punk was there. I mean, there's been obviously good episodes sprinkled in each year, but for the last
peaks and valleys, depending on the season.
For the last 2 years, Raw has been a solid D+. I think since then, and it's just been these past few months have been Fs. I mean, it is bad, and if I would implore, I said implored earlier, I implore you to not watch Raw, because it is that bad. Unless if you are that much of a wrestling fan, or you hate yourself and you want to watch it other than like Monday Night Football or something, I mean, go ahead, but it's bad. And until I don't know what they can do, because Vince isn't just going to give up. Vince isn't just going to be like, yep, okay, I'm not going to run the show anymore. Like, what changes can they make to where they're talking about, I saw a report where, the Royal Rumble is supposed to be this hard reset. Yeah, I've heard that every year for the last, 15 years, Like, what? This is supposed to be, the Royal Rumble is a whole new season of WWE. Why? Why can't we just have, storylines that go longer
season
than...
of garbage.
Yeah, like, why can't we have storylines that go longer than 2 weeks without just vanishing? Or give guys who actually deserve, time on air. Where's Ricochet, man? Where's the leader of one of the best wrestlers in the entire company is leading Retribution on Main Event? I mean, come on, man. Mustafa Ali is fantastic. He was supposed to be what Kofi was at WrestleMania 35, if the plans were right, if he didn't get hurt. I mean, this is just... I've said it a few times, but it is laughably bad. Like, you'd have to pay me to watch Raw fully, without missing it.
Like I said, I was watching Friends.
It's awful, man.
I was watching
there's
Friends.
So many... You could do so many other things to better yourself, to better your day, than finish off Monday nights with Raw. I mean, they sent Keith Lee down to the Performance Center because they thought he wasn't good enough. Did you remember the reaction that he got at the Royal Rumble?
Oh yeah, and
well, even Lesnar was dancing to his theme song. I mean, come on, man! You can't keep living in the past. I don't want to see Sheamus every week. I don't want to see the Big Show come out once a month and have a squash match. Where's Cesaro, man? Where's Angel Garza? Where are these guys who are superstars? I mean, they should be
Aleister Black?
Oh, my God. I think it was Punk who said it best. Vince is a billionaire, or a millionaire who should be a billionaire, but he does not know how to manage his stars. And he keeps living in the past by bringing back guys like Rock and Cena, and even though I don't want to say it, Taker, for ratings pops. That's all they are now. Is they are living week by week, day by day almost, and just trying to get a quick ratings pop. And it's bad, man. It is bad.
I am not connected with anything on Raw right now. I have no incentive to watch Raw right now, except to do the show, to do this podcast. This is my only incentive to keep an eye on what's going on Raw.
I learned more about.
I have no incentive to watch Raw. It's horrible. I have no connect. I can't connect with anybody. They start pushing somebody, stop and start and stop and start and stop. They're pushing,
Which is bad because like Randy Orton's doing some of the best work of his career. You know, like I learn more about Raw on the pay-per-views once a month than I do if I would sit there and watch it, because they don't even know what's happening until the pay-per-views. And we were talking about it before the show, but it's like the pay-per-views this year have all been pretty good. I mean, they've been some really good ones and some ones that are just average, but there's been years where there have been some bad pay-per-views. And this year's been pretty good with the circumstances, and it's just like, you know, I pay attention to WWE sometimes only once a month on a pay-per-view, like, unless if I want to watch SmackDown, like, that's bad, man. Like, I remember when I was a kid and it was so cool, and it's just like AEW has completely come in and just took them by storm, and it's just like they don't know what to do, and it starts at the top, and I know he's gonna fight it until his deathbed, but it doesn't matter what I say on a podcast, but it's time, man.
Start by doing away with the brand split
in the third hour. They gotta get rid of that third hour, or find something else to do. Like, play a classic. I saw somebody recommend play a classic network match, or do like a classic, you know, few selections of network matches every week. Just because not only will you drive up network revenue, because people would want to see, you know, let's say it's a continuation of a feud, you know, or something like that. But you get more subscribers. It may not be substantial, but you get more people to join. But just like no one can sit through that. Like, could you imagine sitting through the Lord of the Rings every Monday? You know, because that's what we're doing. We're just sitting through. But the Lord of the Rings was actually good, so I guess that's, you know, in that vein. But it's bad, man. It's bad.
It's been horrible. It's been absolutely in closing. So this is going back to what we've been talking about in closing. USA Network furious with the record low and Raw, and basically USA wants Raw to implement more adult content. Their ratings were down from 1.73 last week to 1.52 this week. Basically a source inside WWF said there has been a big reaction to the record low rating, and mostly from USA's end, and that they're furious and that they want more adult content, not sexy adult, but dark and violent content. We'll have to see, but chances of Vince McMahon going that route is slimmer than slim.
Yeah.
He's gonna find himself in trouble if he doesn't make a change.
It's just, I don't really know. I mean, they had Bischoff, and Bischoff, when they brought him in back in 2002, I want to say. I mean, they were instant change. I mean, that 2002, they brought in the brand split. They had that influx of talent from WCW and ECW, and it was good. I mean, Triple H had his reign of terror, but overall, it was pretty good television, and it was interesting moving into the Ruthless Aggression era. And I get it, you know, the PG era, that's fine. I understand you got to market to kids. I get that. But the biggest demographic that's always been talked about is that 18 to 49 demographic, which is where both of us fall into, you know, where we're teenagers to, middle-aged, people that still enjoy wrestling. And it's like, until AEW came along, it was almost embarrassing to be a wrestling fan, because it's just like, this is so bad. I mean, on a pay-per-view, the Viking Raiders fought ninjas, like, this year. And I'm sure that Vince McMahon sat there and it thought it was the funniest thing. And it's just like, it's not, dude. It's not. I don't know what they have to do. I get, like, we don't need a live sex celebration again. We don't need somebody like New Jack or Sabu, where you're fully bleeding from head to toe or something like that. Show me a little blood, though, like, show me some hardcore matches or some, stipulation matches. I don't want to see the New Day versus the Street Profits for the 40th time, It's embarrassing to sit through and watch, and I would be embarrassed to be on the show, honestly. Like, it's just bad. Like, they just...
Morale is probably not that good in the Raw backstage right now.
I think you said it, you mentioned Aleister Black. When you have guys like Keith Lee and Aleister Black and all these other people from NXT who are wanting to go back to NXT because it's run by Triple H, that should be your biggest telling factor. I mean, people don't want to be there, and people who are on NXT don't want to get called up. I'm certain the Undisputed Era would have been called up by now, if it weren't for Triple H probably being like, yeah, no, you're not taking them away from me. I mean, it's just, you're right. I mean, SmackDown is good, and really the only reason SmackDown's good is because it's on Fox, and Fox pays them so much money that they can be like, yeah, you're going to do it our way, or, we'll take you off quicker than you can cry wolf. So it's bad, man. It's bad. Maybe maybe the Royal Rumble will actually be a change, but I'm not holding my hopes up. I'm sure they'll announce something over this weekend.
The fall season for WWE has notoriously been bad every single year, but this is a whole nother low. This is the worst I've ever seen it, and I'm trying to figure out what the disconnect is. And maybe wrestling fans that are viewing this on TV are not liking the presentation, that there's no fans in the audience. It could be many things. But it's been garbage, though. The storylines, what they've been feeding us has not been good at all. Not one bit. SmackDown, pretty good.
Yeah, it's watchable. It's not to the level of Dynamite, and
But when I want to watch with Impact more than Raw, there's a big problem there.
Exactly. When Impact should take place. I mean, Raw is so bad, it should be on Twitch. Like, they should switch deals, man. Like, Raw is bad. Like, and I've seen some bad Raws, but it's bad. Like, it is consistently bad. I honestly think the last episode that I watched fully, and the only reason I watched fully was because the first match was an hour-long gauntlet match. I think it was 2018. It was like Cena, Rollins, Finn Balor, Roman Reigns.
That took up the whole show.
Yeah, it took up like a third of the show, and it was really good. But it's like, you couldn't catch me watching Raw.
Wasn't that the same match that Rollins went for an hour?
Yeah, Rollins went for like 45, 50 minutes.
It took up like the whole entire... took up the whole show, that gauntlet match.
And it was a hell of a match. And it was just random, too. It was just a random match, but it's like, how could you not go off of that? Like, how could you have, like, such fire? I mean, the Hurt Business is good. I like them. I think they're a good part of the show. And they're
I think they're going to win the tag
segments.
titles. I think they're going to win the tag titles Sunday.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too. But
every time I bet against New Day always pulls it out.
They find a way, yeah. I'm expecting them to announce something. Try and get the drive up for Monday. Or some screwy finish or some BS that'll make people try and tune into Monday night. But until there's a consistent... There needs to be at least a month of solid Raws before I will check back in on a consistent basis. I mean, it is that bad. But maybe we'll see Hulk Hogan, or Austin will come out, or John Cena. I mean, it's just... They need to stop living in the past. It's
maybe
time.
maybe it's a good thing that it's just so bad right now because there's just so much content to watch and follow up with.
Can only go up from here, right? At least I hope. Knock on wood. I mean, I guess it could keep going down too, but it's.
Oh boy,
I'm almost glad that we don't talk about Raw on this show that often because it is.
no.
I don't know if I could stomach it, man. It's bad.
Yeah,
It's bad.
I don't. It's on my DVR. I don't even know if I'm gonna watch it, but
I'm sure the little kids enjoy it, and that's fine. But I'm not a little kid anymore, and I've seen good wrestling, and I'm watching a good wrestling show every week in NXT and Dynamite, and Raw is definitely not it, and it won't be for a long time, it seems.
Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast. Make sure you subscribe now on YouTube. Share this with your friends. Let them know that we are here each and every single week. Share this with your friends. Please,
Friends.
Yeah, please share. Get them to subscribe now on YouTube. We are also available on Twitter. We'll be taking the week off next week for the holidays, but you can follow us on Twitter and catch our reactions to all the shows that are going to be coming up that week and any announcements. Episode 50 is around the corner. Working on getting a special guest for that, which I'm very excited about. We're also available on the Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, and more. You can follow us there. If you can't find the time to watch, you can always find the time to listen if that's easier. We are on those platforms. So, Tommy, thank you so much for hopping on. Very, very good show we had this week. And, man.
Better than Raw.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. This is the end. Basically, we're at the end of the year. And I can't believe that we're almost at episode 50. So,
Yeah, man.
but yeah, business is about to pick up now. Business is about to pick up. Hopefully, all across the board.
Yeah.
So.
Looking forward to it.
Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you, and we will be seeing you guys very soon. Be on the lookout for the announcements on Twitter and Facebook, and we will be back sooner than you know. Catch you guys later.